Mabel Joel had just delivered the best work of her career, a 60-page strategic audit, flawless, on time, under budget. Her revenue for the following month was exactly zero, not because the client was unhappy, they loved it. They paid the invoice the same week, sent a glowing testimonial, and then, as every client before them had done, they closed the file, shelved the report, and moved on. And Mabel was back at the starting line again. 3 years of consulting, dozens of flawless deliverables, a client list she was genuinely proud of, and every single month, the same terrifying question. Where is next month's income coming from? She was not running a consulting business. She was running a high-stress gig treadmill, and she was exhausted. 8 months later, Mabel had converted 70% of her practice into long-term monthly retainers. Her revenue had quadrupled. She had not increased her working hours by a single minute, and she had not hired a single employee. This is how she did it. Part 1. The problem. To understand what Mabel built, you need to understand the trap she was caught in. And if you have ever freelanced, or consulted, or sold your expertise project by project, you already know this trap, because you have probably lived it yourself. A typical Tuesday for Mabel did not begin with executive advisory sessions or high-level strategic planning. It began with hours of manual research, scrolling through competitor press releases, scanning industry news feeds, indexing social media mentions, trying to assemble a baseline picture of a client's market position before the actual strategic work could even begin. 4 hours of data collection to produce 2 hours of real analysis. And here is the brutal commercial reality that made the math even worse. Because Mabel's value was tied directly to the production of a physical deliverable, a PDF report, a slide deck, a written audit, her clients treated her exactly like they treated every other vendor, as a temporary cost to be managed, minimized, and eventually eliminated. The moment she handed over the document, her value proposition ended. The client had what they paid for. The problem was marked as solved. And Mabel's name moved from the active budget to the inactive vendor list until the next problem arose, which might be 6 months away, or 12, or never. She was a snapshot in a world that never stopped moving. Part 2. The crisis. The breaking point came during a single week in autumn. 3 client pipelines, 3 separate businesses she had been in active conversations with for months, evaporated simultaneously. Not because they chose a competitor, because their budgets were frozen. Corporate cost reviews, spending pauses, the kind of decisions that get made in boardrooms and communicated to vendors in 2-sentence emails. Mabel looked at her operating capital. She had 1 month of runway left, and sitting with that number, she finally understood something she had been avoiding for 3 years. She did not own any equity in her client relationships. None. She had delivered dozens of projects, built real expertise in every industry she had worked in, generated genuine measurable value for every business she had touched. And the moment each project ended, that equity disappeared. It did not compound. It did not retain. It reset to 0 every single time. Her clients did not need more static text files. They needed continuous navigation through a commercial landscape that changed every single week. She was selling them a map. In a world where the roads changed overnight, and as long as she kept selling maps, she would always be the first line item cut when budgets got tight. Part 3. The experiment. Mabel gave herself 1 month of non-billable time to build something completely different. Not a better template, not a more polished report format, a proprietary intelligence system modeled after the research departments of the global consulting firms she had always competed against. The first breakthrough came in competitive intelligence. Her system could generate a comprehensive competitive landscape map in minutes. Work that had previously taken her 4 hours of manual research, done automatically, before she finished her morning coffee. But the first version had a serious flaw. The dashboards were too complex, too many raw data indicators, too much technical noise. She showed an early version to a trusted client contact, a corporate director, and watched his eyes glaze over within 90 seconds. She realized she had built an intelligence engine for a data scientist, not an executive decision-maker. Mabel rebuilt the output layer entirely, simplified every visualization, removed every metric that did not directly connect to a business decision, refined the language until every insight was expressed in plain English with a clear implication attached. The data stayed complex. The delivery became clear, and that gap between what the machine processed and what the executive received was where Mabel's human judgment lived. Part 4. The pivot. The real turning point came halfway through a standard $2,000 consulting engagement with a regional retail corporation. Mabel walked into the boardroom for the mid-project review. Every other consultant in that room's history had shown up with a slide deck summarizing past performance metrics, historical data, a polished autopsy of what had already happened. Mabel opened a live dashboard. The system showed a high probability shift in regional consumer spending habits, based on real-time labor market data her models had processed that same morning. It illustrated the exact timeline of how a competitor's recent logistics pricing adjustment would compress the client's net margins over the next 90 days. Not history, the future. With probabilities attached, the chief executive officer stopped the meeting agenda. He asked one question: how do we get access to this on a permanent basis? Before Mabel completed the original $2,000 contract, the company moved her to an $8,000 monthly advisory retainer. They did not want to buy another report. They wanted to stop being blind. And Mabel's system was the only thing in the room that could see around corners. She had not pitched a retainer. She had not asked for recurring revenue. She had simply shown them what continuous intelligence looked like and let them draw their own conclusion. The commercial conversation had shifted completely, from the cost of a freelance task to the value of never being caught off guard again. Part 5. The result. Within 8 months, 70% of Mabel's practice had converted from isolated project assignments to long-term monthly retainers. Her total revenue quadrupled, without adding a single working hour, without hiring a single employee, without pitching harder or networking more aggressively. The gig treadmill that had defined 3 years of her professional life stopped. A typical Tuesday morning now begins with a brief review of her automated intelligence indicators, flagging the market shifts that require her human judgment before her first client call of the day. Her primary hours go to deep strategic architecture sessions, long-range expansion planning, the high-value advisory work she had always been capable of, but never had the capacity to deliver when she was spending 4 hours a day manually collecting data. She is no longer treated as an external vendor competing for a project fee. She operates as an indispensable member of her clients' executive teams, permanent, strategic, irreplaceable. The difference between those two positions is not her credentials. It is not her experience. It is not her network. It is the intelligence system that makes her presence impossible to live without. Part 6. The lessons. The independent advisors who will dominate the next decade of consulting are not the ones who complete the highest volume of projects. They are the ones who make their absence impossible to afford. Any standalone deliverable, however polished, however thorough, however brilliantly executed, is a commodity in 2026. AI can produce a 60-page strategic audit faster than any human consultant, for a fraction of the cost. The question is not whether you can produce better documents than an AI. The question is whether you can build a relationship that an AI cannot replace. Mabel did not win her retainers because she was smarter than her competitors. She won them because she built a system that made her clients feel something no document ever could. The permanent reassurance that someone was watching their market so they did not have to. That is what a retainer actually buys, not hours. Not deliverables, not expertise, peace of mind, backed by data, delivered by a human who has earned the trust to interpret it. If you sell your expertise project by project, here is something worth considering. What would it look like if your clients could not imagine operating without you? Not because of the last thing you delivered, but because of what you are watching for them right now. That question is the difference between a vendor and a partner. That question changed Mabel Joel's entire business. It might change yours, too. New episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. Subscribe and follow along.